So let's see. I guess finding out that Will was my child and not Austin's child, my brother, was kind of like a turning point for the character because it happened, so long ago. And I don't know, I just feel like that kind of reset Lucas's tone a little bit. So somewhere in there. And then he kind of went through the whole thing with with EJ, which also kind of changed him a lot. So I think I did a lot of good work when I was yelling at James Scott. But I was usually looking up so high because he was so tall.
Right.
You were like staring down my nose the whole time. So, aesthetically, it probably didn't look too good. But I think, around then he took a turning point too when Sammy broke his heart and chose EJ over him. Then I think that he also became somebody else. So I think those are two kind of turning points for the character that were fun to play.
Every once in a while, Allison Sweeney will come back in and we'll actually get to see a little bit of Lucas and Sammy together every once in a while. Do you guys just sort of pick up in that old, Loomy chemistry, that back and forth just right away? Or do you have to sort of remind yourself what your characters have been together? Or?
No, it's pretty organic. It's pretty natural. She enjoys yelling at me, and I enjoy trying to justify my reasoning with her. So I don't know. I think sometimes the writers try to write it, and it's hard. It's a hard thing to write. It's something that we often do a little off script, I think. So as long as they're okay with us doing that, we don't change much. I think it works. When we have a lot of exposition or a lot of dialogue to get across that's storyline related, then it's harder to do that. But it's always fun to know that she's going to be there if I start ad-libbing too much. But Lindsay's here too. I just want to say.
Yeah, and Lindsay,
because Lindsay didn't talk at all last time.
Okay, so this time I'll ask her some questions. Lindsay.
Lindsay.
So when you found out, that you were going to be the daughter of Sammy and Lucas, and you hear especially with Sammy the crazy, background, the stories of, like, for example, her shooting her rapist to get revenge that she couldn't get, in the courts and stuff like that. Did it just sort of blow your mind that you were going to be playing the daughter of these two characters?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of pressure. And I think, there is definitely a pressure of like, who's Allie more like? It's kind of always, you're getting different sides of her that's like, oh, today she's more, being like Lucas, but then another day she's trying to be like Sammy. And so I think it's been, it's been hard kind of trying to find an equal balance of the two and making her enough of each parent, because both of them are a lot to unpack.
Do you have like someone on the set that showed you the ropes, coming onto the set?
Yeah, I worked with Ari a lot when I first started, and I still work with her a lot. So I think she definitely kind of showed me the ropes the most, just because we were always pretty much together. And anytime I had a question or if I needed to know where a certain room was, Ari was my go-to girl to ask.
Yeah, it's kind of be complicated playing a character where you've been raped, you have, but you can't remember, because you were so drunk, really who it was. You think it's Trip, but how do you go about as an actress sort of preparing to play that kind of a storyline?
Honestly, I work very much off of the other actors that I'm working with, so I just kind of went into it with having my lines down, knowing what the script says, but then really working off what the other people are giving me in the scene. And then I kind of find it as I go, almost just feeling like, how is this making her feel? How is, hearing that out loud when someone says it to you, like, are you starting to have doubts? Like when I hear that, it's like, that'll get me to a place where I'm like, am I? And then, it can kind of help me spiral as Allie, so.
Okay, so one last question for both of you. What's the most challenging thing about trying to act and tape in this environment of of the COVID restrictions on the set? What has been the most challenging?
Um,
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay. I was just gonna say it's really hard to like run lines, which is usually really helpful for getting into the headspace that you need to be in because you have time to play around with your other actors, like in person, catching on their energy, seeing how you're affecting each other. And that is really hard to do over camera, like to practice over, Zoom or whatever we use, especially because sometimes people just don't have service. So it's like in and out, and it's definitely made it harder and made it even more pressure when you get on set because you're like, all right, this is really the first time we're gonna run through it. So yeah.
I'm one of those people that don't have service because I have AT&T and they're the worst in my room ever. But yeah, it's that throws me not running lines and then also not getting the blocking because then you get the blocking last minute and you're more concerned about where you're stepping, when you turn, what kind of camera shot am I falling into rather than the connection of the scene. So I think when you get the blocking last minute, it's kind of hard sometimes to piece everything together because when I prepare, I like to rehearse some of my lines. The blocking will tip off some of my lines too. Because I know if I cross here, then I say this line. But the blocking now is given to us right away. So it's like, the blocking's there. I got to do that. Okay. And so I don't know. It kind of takes you out of the scene a little.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can get back to normal life and normal taping and everything soon. But it was so great to talk to you guys and see you,
Thank you.
even if it's through screens. And thank you so much.